she basically heard Satoni's voice and he was saying, "Let me know when there's a body." Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today, once again, we're talking about the new K-drama, When the Phone Rings. And this time, I'm going to be doing a quick character analysis of Hong Hee-joo from episode 1 to episode 4. I feel like she's got such an up arc at the moment, even though it's been only 4 episodes, and I'm just loving what I'm seeing so far, as well as the dynamic that she has with Satoni. I've got my notes like the last time. Just to start off, from first impressions, Hong Hee-joo, she was a bit boring to me. Like I said in the first video that I made, in the first episode, the first like 20 minutes was a bit of a drag for me. And then when they ramped up the action with her fully getting isolated in the scene where now she's being threatened and she's kidnapped by this person who has a phone, right? So my first impression of her was that she was very quiet. She is supposed to fit an image, and then later on you start to see how that image starts to unravel, and you see under, especially like episode 2, 3, and I believe 4, when we come to understand her trauma and what has shaped her to be the way that she is right now, because she is just following rather than to have like high self-esteem or to even just have power over her life. So far I've titled Hong Hee-joo's journey as being one towards authentic self-expression. She is a nice girl who fits a mold orchestrated by her mother, as we see a snippet of her trauma scene when her mum is essentially saying, "You're the only one that came out unscathed from this incident. That cannot happen." And because of her mum's own selfish self-interest, she now has to box herself in. And I believe, well, I'm going to paraphrase, her mum was essentially saying she's now the mermaid, her voice is taken, this is now the life that she must live, having selective mutism. Amazingly enough, although her mum boxed her into a certain reality which she actually desired to escape, she, with her marriage with Satoni, was able to utilize the sign language and become much better in it as a profession. And now, as we're starting to see, especially from episode 4, she is developing in a way that she probably always desired. And so I'm thinking in my mind that her wants and desires is for freedom and to break out of the mold that her mother created for her. And as we see with the kidnapping situation, when she now becomes the decoy or the fake person on the other side of the phone, she is setting the demand that she wants out of this marriage. I feel like that's what makes her character so compelling from the jump now, because it's least expected that this quiet and to herself kind of character would now suddenly become someone who can make demands when previously she couldn't. And though she was fearful in that situation, it's like what flipped her during the kidnapping scene in the car was when she basically heard Satoni's voice and he was saying, "Let me know when there's a body." What I didn't realize at that point, which I don't think was supposed to until later on when her trauma is revealed, was that was a trigger for her. And it's like that trigger also initiated her story arc, because for every story you need an inciting event, and that conflict that is starting to arise within her for her inner desire to have freedom and to essentially find herself again, open herself up to where now she can use her voice. That becomes possible through the kidnapper and that phone. And I just love how they're utilizing such a high stake situation to now unravel the characters and to push them on a journey that will ultimately be in service of all that they probably always desired. And that's what I like the most, because I'm just like, oh, you're making me think, okay. And what I didn't realize until later on, after I had finished watching episode 4, was that she was the nice girl archetype, whereas Satoni was the cold guy archetype. And I could relate to being the nice girl, and obviously you don't get what you want in that situation. So it's such an intriguing dynamic to see how the foul interplay helps her to use her voice, because that's essentially what her mother did shut down, and now it's the one thing that she can now utilize to alter her situation. And it works out best for her too, as Saotoni is adjusting, and although he has known her for 20 years and they've been married for 3 years, it is at this very moment when the whole board is shaken that he's starting to see her more, hear her more, even though they have that disconnect with communication. And now he wants her to do what he has essentially always desired, which is to break free from the mold of what their parents have forced upon them. And to me as a writer, it's just so captivating to see how conflict really just urges a character to go steady on forward, or to just shrink back and just hide from their problems. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, because as we know, with conflict comes even greater stakes. And if you're trying to shift something that has always been normal for other people, that can create something that's very heartbreaking for the individual, or they might not be able to readjust to the reality that they want. So it's going to be interesting to see how their psychology comes into play with all of this, because obviously with Saotoni's mental health, that's not really explicitly explored, but you can see how she loves her father, she loves her mother too, but she shuts down and she doesn't fully express herself. But that's starting to become more prevalent with her new job opportunities and the whole phone situation, which I just love. Because like, oh, you're seeing these two different people. You got the mask, as what I said with my previous video with Saoni, and now you got Hong Hee-ju's mask, being the nice girl, the one who listens, doesn't really fight back. But with the phone situation, the behind the scenes being masked by the voice alteration thing, who she is beyond the phone is who she truly is. But she's having this conflict. That's why her voice is shaking, or she's getting a bit anxious. She even had that one scene where she wanted to throw the phone away because, oh, this is getting very serious. This is not what she expected it to be. She kind of wanted it to be a lot more smooth sailing, even though her husband Saotoni is a very good negotiator and he's very skilled at what he does. But the person behind the phone, when she's using her voice, that to me is like her utilizing her dark feminine energy. It's the kind where I'm still trying to understand this whole dark feminine concept, but it's the kind where you're standing on business, you're not really taking nothing from nobody, and you're outright saying, this is who I am. And I could be wrong, but I do feel like the writers of this show are trying to integrate dark feminine qualities into her character in order to help her progress forward towards her goals, which is at the moment to divorce Saotoni, as she feels like he doesn't love her. She feels like a placeholder, which is what has been said, as her older sister was supposed to marry him, but instead he chose her. But here I have 10 qualities of the dark feminine archetype. 1. Independence. 2. Self-confidence. 3. Inner strength, resilience, chaos, passion, magic, fearlessness, destruction, regeneration. I feel like for her, embodying the dark feminine when she's on the phone, being the fake kidnapper, she's exuding more inner strength to break free of her current situation, as well as having the self-confidence to now consider how life would be outside of him. One of the key scenes that I found very moving in episode 1 was the party scene, and after she communicated with whoever they were speaking with and hearing that Saotoni had certain feelings towards his wife, she was like, but that's not what is really being communicated between them two. And I liked how she was sign languaging it to him, but he wasn't understanding it. And I could feel her emotions through the sign language. It was like, oh, she's finally trying to fight the urges that she's always had. She's got these emotions that she's probably suppressed as well, which comes with the voice. How to explain it though? It's just that sign language was just very powerful and communicated what her voice couldn't. And what I find was beautifully done was how the writers made that point to foreshadow what would happen later on when he would now start to feel these desires to understand her more, because previously he thought he knew her, but clearly he doesn't. Though her mother gave her the deception of selective mutism, I had the impression that she generally just couldn't speak, and everyone else thought she couldn't speak, but they didn't really tie it into trauma until later on, like episode 2, 3. Especially with Saotni, it was like he really thought she couldn't make no sound, until in episode 4 we see she breaks down outside the police car after having been scared to death by her dad being essentially kidnapped as well by the kidnapper. Another thing I love, the dynamic between Saotni and Hong Hee-ju, is how they mirror each other. Especially with the mask, what they keep up for the public, and even what she keeps up against him and other people, with only her mother knowing of her condition. What I didn't mention in the other video was that key scene in episode 4 with Saotni and his parents. They had like this whole dinner thing. His dad is running for the election. Obviously his dad wants him to join him with his campaign, but that was a very tense scene which revealed under Saotni's mask how his family want him to be a certain kind of individual to help keep their image being clean and good and how they would want it to be in order to win the election. But in that very scene when Hong Hee-ju comes through and the dad is basically disrespecting her and she's unable to vocalize her discomfort or even just fight her case, Saotni stands up to protect her. But in that moment of him doing so, you could also see how he doesn't like how she is unable to defend herself. It just basically shows how they're both from the same kind of world where their parents are forcing upon them how they want them to be, giving them a self-fulfilling prophecy than to allow them to be who they want to be. And it's all because of like selfish interests. But I just like how Hong Hee-ju and Saotni, they both just mirror each other in what they would want out of their own circumstances. So Saotni would want to be free from his parents. His father has always said that he's still within his shadow. And just like how Hong Hee-ju would most likely want to be free to vocalize and to just be her and just be free to go and do whatever she wants to. So just to summarize, I feel like Hong Hee-ju is on her journey of discovering herself, becoming more authentic in what she desires, breaking free from the mold that her mother placed her in because of her trauma. I don't have anything more to share. I did have some things, but my brain is not working as it's supposed to right now. Comment down below what you guys are thinking of her character as well. Maybe I have it wrong and she's not really embodying much of the dark feminine energy, but it will be very interesting to see how this story ends. Even just from episode 4 is ramping up quite a bit. I just got me excited. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.